They may not know everything about sports, but the view from their couch is pretty good. So kick back and enjoy a brew, because you know they already are. Here is Eric Dorsch.
They're crazy enough to let me be in charge.
Russ Ivanek.
8 out of 10 from the judges. 5 out of 10 from the German judge.
And Justin Marcus.
Our best defense has been long, hard, and yellow all year long.
This is Armchair Sports Talk.
All right, everybody, welcome into Armchair Sports Talk. Like always, I'm your host, Eric Dorsch. We've got so much to talk about. Really no need to ramp this one up. The show's going to speak for itself. So we'll bring in Justin Marcus.
Hey, how we doing, man?
Good, buddy. How are you?
Hey, I'm stellar. I'm ready to get through this punch list of lovely changes we've had lately.
You're in a great mood because the Red Wings are no longer even playoff eligible, and I know how happy that makes you, Mr. Lose for Hughes.
I was a little hungover after I celebrated. So.
The other laugh right there, that's, of course, Russ Ivanek. Stats man Russ coming back from a trip where he got to go to a nice little conference all about stats in hockey. We're going to talk a little bit about that. But, Russ, my first question for you, it's pretty simple. What's the biggest thing you took away from this conference now, or what's the biggest thing you took away that now you look at hockey differently?
Well, I take away that, holy shit, there's some smart people out there.
Yeah.
But
and none of them work in Detroit.
Yeah. Well, there was 2 other people at the conference that were from Detroit.
Oh, okay.
So there's something. Just not any front office people,
yes,
who could not sign Erickson to long contract, anything like that. My biggest takeaway really was on how power plays were handled. There was a whole hour just dedicated to power plays and penalty kills, and maybe I'm not going to hate the drop pass as much as I thought I did. Maybe it's just because the Wings suck at it, but I learned a whole lot about how that can be maybe the most effective power play zone entry.
Okay.
But it changed my mind a little bit there.
That's cool. Definitely cool. This, just talking to you about it over the last couple of days and all that, it just seems like something that's so fascinating. And the one big thing that, like, between you and I that we've been discussing is just how much more stats has now taken over the game of hockey as in comparison to these old scouts, the guys who used to do it just on the eye test alone. They'd watch you go, shoot the puck. They'd watch you go hit the ball and throw from the outfield, and that was good enough to say you're the next big thing. There's no numbers behind it to back it. Nowadays, if you don't have, years and years and years of carefully broken down stats and everything just filed away in numbers, you're almost someone who no one even gives the time of day to. It's just amazing how over the last, let's say even a decade, the eye test has almost become secondary in the game of hockey and in all sports.
Well, yeah, not to get too much into it now, but it is ever evolving, and a guy like Martin St. Louis almost didn't get a chance.
Yeah.
Now we got guys like Braden Point, like Alex DeBrincat, who are undersized and kicking a lot of ass. And the numbers have helped them get there. Oh,
absolutely, absolutely. Well, we'll talk about a team of guys who really shouldn't get a chance because the Red Wings are terrible. And finally eliminated. Jay, I know there's nothing makes you happier than knowing your Red Wings aren't going to make the playoffs, because why bother going to the playoffs and losing in the first round? Might as well just get it as low as you can, get the best draft pick, that Lose for Hughes. You guys have another hashtag. I just never remember how to say it. So Tanko for Taco or
Tanko
for whatever.
For Tanko.
Yeah, that's right.
No, it's excellent. Seriously, I'm sorry that your Christmas wish didn't come true, or your New Year's resolution. I don't know which one it was, but I'm totally about it. Larkin couldn't have gotten hurt at a more opportunistic time, and I honestly feel like this is what I wish they would have done this last year at the end of the season, and I think they're going to do it effectively this year. They've got no Larkin. They're effectively Duke without Zion, and them losing the rest of these games for the rest of the year. We have a 50-50 shot, hopefully, against Ottawa with getting the first overall pick.
Yeah. By the way, Zion's playing tonight, Jay. So
is he back again?
Yeah, he's playing tonight. So your little comparison backfired on you. But my question for you, Jay, I believe he was hurt, but do we think this was really a ending injury for Larkin, or this was we suck, we're not winning, there's no point in even trying to make this worse than it already is, let's just put him on the shelf and say it's a little worse than it really is, because we don't need to risk it, A, getting worse, or B, him getting hurt another way, and we have problems going into next year.
I think it's a win-win either way. I mean, if it's like, hey, don't let this, don't belabor an injury and we'll just shut you down for a minute, or if he has a real soft tissue issue, I don't care either way because I don't think he should play anymore. Because even if he isn't hurt, shutting him down, letting him rest, he's got lots of hard games ahead in his future. Saving him for the next 12, it'll come and go, and we'll forget like it never even happened.
Okay, that's fair. If you follow our Twitter and all that, Justin made a little bit of a prediction earlier today. Now, I'm not going to go straight to Justin on this. Russ, you just went into a room with a bunch of smart people. I'm hoping your brain got a little bigger. I want you to see if you can rationalize a reason why Justin would ever assume the Red Wings are only going to win one of the last 12 games when you talk about the schedule they have. I mean, there's 3 or 4 teams down here that are easily winnable games for the Red Wings.
Yeah.
Easily was a poor word there. Possibly winnable games for the Red Wings.
Yeah, I mean, first off, they play the Rangers again.
Yeah.
There's one to start, and they play Buffalo twice.
Mm-hmm.
So Buffalo's a fringe playoff team, but that's a team that I don't trust night in and night out to absolutely do what they need to. And it's also a league where the worst team, they're not going to win like 8 games a year. Like, you're still going to win a handful of games. You're still going to get around 20 at least. So you always have a chance. I think you looked at a team like the Flyers from last year and said, hey, they lost more than 10 straight. We could do that. But we're worse than that team was and really, really wants to be bad. So wishful thinking, a little wish fulfillment maybe.
It's possible.
But no, I don't think I'll say it's possible because they've earned their standing. I don't think it's realistic to think only one out of the next 12.
Okay. Yeah. So you kind of just answered the next question I was going to have for you. If you're a betting man, would you actually bet on the Red Wings going 1-11 to finish this year?
Oh, I'd take the over on one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Without even looking at the rest of the schedule.
Well, we're about to give you the schedule because Jay's got to back this up, so I have to give him the schedule. But first, Jay, I would like to point out, while we were waiting on Russ, we had this conversation. Russ pointed out, both the teams Russ has pointed out were the teams I pointed out as ones that they could definitely come away with a win on. The only team he didn't mention were the Islanders. So, smart minds.
We all called that. Yes. We all said that. Like the next 4 games or 5 games, we're like, yeah, they'll probably beat the Rangers, and they did 3-2. So we all sniped the hell out of that one.
Okay, so here we go, Jay. I'm going to give you the schedule, and then you need to give me. You need to explain this because it doesn't make sense to me. So we have Tampa tonight. We have the Islanders at home on Saturday. Next week we play the Rangers, Blues, and Vegas all on the road. We stay on the road the following week for San Jose and Buffalo. Next day after Buffalo, we come home to play New Jersey. And then
team too.
Yeah, and then last week we have Boston at home. 2 games in a row against Pittsburgh. We play them Tuesday and Thursday, 1 at home, 1 away, and we end the season with Buffalo. So you look at this schedule. When I look at this schedule right now, I can see one. I'm going to say 5. That might be a little overstretched. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I see 5 games that are Again, I keep trying to say easily that are potentially winnable. Yeah, that are potentially winnable for these Detroit Red Wings. So, Jay, floor is yours. Give us your reasoning as to why these Red Wings are going to go potentially 0-12 or 1-11 to finish the year.
All right. So, with or without Larkin, if you look at Boston, you look at Vegas, St. Louis, San Jose, and then you go grab the 2 ending games against Pittsburgh. Those are done. Like, those should be automatic L's, with or without Larkin, okay?
Yep.
Say that Larkin comes back. All right, so we got Tampa Bay at home. We're losing that game. Tampa Bay just clinched, and they're the first team to clinch, and Kucherov is just ungodly. Mm-hmm. And having Stamkos center him, done. Like, just mark us for a loss there.
Mm-hmm.
The Islanders, we probably do have a chance to beat the Islanders, but because I'm going to that game, they will lose. I haven't seen my Wings win a game in person in probably the better half of a decade, okay? So the fact that I'm taking my kids might change that, but I got them losing that game.
Mm-hmm.
Rangers are sneaky. I almost wanted to put 2, but just because we're on the road, we're at the Garden, I'm going to put that up as an L. So then you go back to your remaining games. You got Buffalo twice and you got Jersey. I think I failed to mention the Knights, but the Knights should take care of us with Stone because he, again, another ungodly player.
Okay.
I'm tabbing the Devils game Friday night coming off of a road game at Buffalo as our loss. Taylor Hall is still out. I know this because he was on my fantasy team. Thank you, Russ, for knocking me out of the playoffs.
Anytime, bud.
Good for you.
It wasn't good. I'm still crying about it. We're suffering, but we're taking it. New Jersey's not the same team without Taylor Hall. Palmieri was out for a while. He's finally back. I don't see us losing to the Rangers that night. I'm sorry, to the Devils that night. The Rangers might be where I lose my bet, but you've got fringe teams. And when you get closer to the end of the year, those teams play harder. Because if you make it to the playoffs, well, guess what? There's some bonuses attached to it. There's some happy ownership that you can, say, hey, we made it to the playoffs, whatever. We've got nothing to play for other than to lose. And I pray to God there's a hidden memo in that locker room telling all these players to just start playing like Erickson every single day of the week.
Okay. Now, hold on one second. This could just be my lack of listening, but it could also be the fact that I think, Russ, I know you were listening too, so I want you to correct me if I'm wrong here. Did he say that New Jersey's the win or the loss? Because I feel like he led that statement off with New Jersey was a loss.
I thought he said it was a loss.
So did I. I feel like, Jay, you set it up as a loss and then you rethought it mid-sentence because I'm pretty sure you led that off as New Jersey you had as a loss. Or you have New Jersey as going to be a loss for New Jersey and that's the win we get.
I'm sorry. That is
okay.
The Red Wings will beat New Jersey.
Okay, there we go. That's
because the things that I set that up poorly. That's on me.
No, it's not even wrong. I'm sitting here kind of going through the teams and tallying as you go about what you're doing here, and you let it off as a loss. So I'm like, okay, so there's another loss, and I realized you never gave us the win, so that's what I was looking for.
There's no win.
Yeah, there's no win. So they're going 0-12 in Jay's mind. Okay, yeah, I made my point clear here. I think to say the Wings are going to go 1-11 to finish this year is just. It's not possible. I personally, it's possible. It's just not likely. I think this team, on face value alone, looking at what we have here, I think this team at least can get 2, maybe 3 wins. I'll agree with you that Tampa's a loss. San Jose, Vegas, St. Louis, Boston, the back-to-back pit games, those are losses. I'm with you on that one. Islanders, Rangers. The Wings will win against the Islanders just because they know you're in the stadium and they want nothing more than to make you upset, Jay.
Mm-hmm.
Rangers, I still see as a W. I'm with you on this, but I almost dare to pencil Vegas in just to do it. But I think the Buffalo I'm not doing it. I said earlier that those are that's a loss. But then you look at the 2 Buffalo games and the Jersey game. If you're telling me of 4 or 5 games that we can't win 2 or 3, I would be surprised. If I'm a betting man, I say Rangers, Jersey, and one of the Buffalo games are W's for us. So I would say 3, if I had to put a number to it.
Okay.
And let's not rule out the fact, though, that some of these games, like the Boston game and the 2 Pittsburgh games, are coming right at the end of the season against playoff teams that might be locked into position.
And they're probably resting, to be honest.
Yeah,
but
they very well could. Boston's 4 points up on Toronto and 1.5 miles behind Tampa in their division, right? So that's if Toronto has a bad week, Boston could be locked into the 2 with a couple of games left. Maybe a guy takes a night off. Pittsburgh's 2 of the last 3 games of the season. They just need a few more wins to lock up a division spot here and avoid a wild card. That could be playing with some funky things there.
That's true.
All right, so to be fair, to keep Jay's statement intact, assuming you don't see a rest across the board, Jay, if teams start resting, more than likely you got to alter that number. But assuming everybody plays everybody going into the end of the year, you're going to stick with 1-11. To finish the
season.
Yes,
I am because I was looking at some advanced stats on them today. The Wings have 3 people. I know Russ isn't going to give a shit, but the Wings have 3 people who are positive plus minus.
Okay? You're right. I don't care.
Our best player blocking shots, taking hits, faced off, and all that is Glendening. He's still grinding it out, but if we don't have Larkin with his entries that he just blows by people. I don't see us producing any offense or having any energy to do so. We can call up Wade Megan and end as much as we want. And it's just I see guys going back down to the minors to play for the Griffins if they're on a two-way. And I don't see us doing a whole damn lot of things, man. I really don't. So if you guys want to put some money up, or Lord knows I'm winning the Tavares gamble bet. So if we can do something else, man, I'm ready.
We'll see about that one. Yeah, we'll see about that one. But I would say that more than likely one win is lowballing in this one. I think you're at least going to see a couple. So we'll see what happens there. But now, move on to the other Detroit team that's going right now that actually has a chance to make the playoffs. Pistons right now sit as a 7 seed in the Eastern Conference. Top 8 teams make it. Pistons are 5-2 in the month of March. Now, the thing that's a little deterring to me is the 2 losses come with 2 teams that are playoff teams. Brooklyn at 6, Miami at 7. So, Russ, when you look at this, Pistons at one point had won, I think, close to 10 in a row. They were on a little bit of a streak, playing well. But when you look at this, is this just kind of a fluke hot run that doesn't mean a lot, that gets everybody excited going to the playoffs? Or is this maybe a sign of the Pistons finally finding a few pieces that fit together that they could potentially be a favorite to win a series? Definitely not winning the East, definitely not going too deep into it, but could potentially win a series in the East, depending on who they play. Because as of now, if the playoffs started tomorrow, they would be playing Toronto. So, and Toronto's 48-20. Toronto's got 14 more wins than they do. So,
Right.
Is this a team that's streaking at an optimal time, or is this just kind of one of those fluke hot streaks that because it's so close to playoffs, needy fans are jumping on a bandwagon?
I actually think there is something to this streak, because I've looked at now the Pistons for our last 3 shows before we talked about them here, and they're winning the majority of their games each time. Like the last 2 weeks, they've won 7 out of their last 10.
Yep.
One of those including over Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
Notice a bit of a trend there. This team is the 5th lowest team in assists per game across the length of the season. However, these last 10 wins, their leader is actually whoever's leading assists for the team that night, and it changes a lot, surprisingly, is getting more assists, is way outperforming their average assists. I mean, the lowest number that their leader had is 6 assists in a win.
Yep.
Right? But their last 5 losses, they've only hit someone gets 7 assists twice. Right? And that was the highest, with just 7 assists. So they're lacking a playmaker, but it seems like they're finally starting to come together in some kind of a system where, all right, it's your night. You're going to set guys up. You're the one we can attack with. And it's finally building on something. They already have the league's top rebounder in Drummond, and he's actually widening the gap between him and Embiid finally. So they are starting to come together. Is it going to matter when they get to the playoffs? No. God, no, it's not going to matter. Basketball continues to be the ultimate sport of have and have not, and they have not. So look, I'm happy they're going to be in the playoffs, because we're actually going to have playoff sports in Michigan, which is, hey, that'll be exciting. Maybe it's for 6 games, hopefully. That'd be cool if they could push it to 7, but I'm not penciling in for anything more than a first-round exit.
Okay. This question's going to go for both you guys. They're only a half a game behind Brooklyn. They're like 4 or 5 games behind Boston. They're not going to catch that. They're the highest they can hope to jump is to 6. 6 is kind of their pinnacle right now. So, looking at the schedule for the next couple days, they've got the Lakers on Friday. That means nothing because the Lakers aren't even going to make the playoffs. But then Sunday, they play against Toronto for the second time, in the month of March. If you're people like us who are analyzing and looking ahead, knowing that the playoffs are coming, if you are, looking at this, is a win against Toronto right here something that gives you a lot more comfort going into the playoffs, knowing you're probably going to have to play Toronto in the first round? You get 2 wins against them late in the season. It gives you that belief that, hey, we might have this team's number. We might actually have them figured out to keep going. So, Justin, does a win on Sunday for the Pistons against Toronto, assuming that's who they're more than likely going to be playing in the playoffs, does that give you that extra little boost to say, okay, this is a team we might actually be able to handle in the first round of the playoffs if we meet them?
I'd say definitely. I mean, if you can get your opponent's number before the postseason even starts, or the postseason even starts, I think that's a huge advantage, big time. So if they can actually pull that off, yeah. I mean, and like what Russ touched on, it'd be nice to talk about insert Detroit team here playoff bound. Like, even though I don't want them to have the first home game in the new stadium between the two teams for the playoffs, but it's about damn time we can enjoy something around here. So why not load it up for us to lose, and I'll enjoy the red.
Okay, that's fair. And Russ, same question for you, because as while Jay was talking, I looked through and looked ahead. We only play Toronto and Indiana Pacers twice, and that's all that's left of Eastern Conference playoff teams we face going into this. We make a huge West Coast swing for the remainder of the year. So does a win against Toronto kind of give you that little extra boost to say a couple wins late in the year against this team? This is something we like to see going into playoff time.
Well, yeah, I'll say it does give a boost, but I'll preface it with 0 plus 1, is 1, and that's bigger than 0.
Yeah.
I guess. So I do not have confidence that this team's going to be able to beat one of those top 3 teams, and that's who they're locked in, that they're going to play against. Maybe there's something to Toronto with having Dwayne Casey coached a majority of those players very recently, so that maybe he can figure them out, and maybe that's what's giving them the edge. But I have to imagine the playoffs will start, the benches will shorten. It can be a different team. There's a reason Toronto's the number 2 team, and I don't think the Pistons they probably match up against Toronto better than anyone else that they'd have to face, but doesn't give me that much more confidence.
Oh yeah, I agree with you on that one. But I mean, as someone who's looking at it, this is the only, as of right now, the only playoff team we have in Detroit. Red Wings aren't happening.
Yep.
Pistons aren't doing it. I mean, the Lions aren't doing it. We don't know about the Tigers, but all signs, as what we just read earlier about Michael Fulmer getting shut down for an unforeseeable amount of time. You got to think that one's not happening either. So this is our playoff team, but in the simplest of strategy, in the easiest of equation, you go from a team that makes the playoff, loses in the first round, to makes the playoffs, wins in the first round. That to me is at least somewhat of a sign you're headed in the right direction over not making the playoffs at all. So I think if you're the Pistons and how you've been streaking the last couple months, this has to be your first benchmark. Obviously, every team will say winning the title is our only goal. Sure it is. You have to realistically let your brain kick into the fact that you're not winning the title. Even if you get through the East, the West is far superior. So you're not winning the title. So if you're the Pistons right now, little tiny side goal that you have just for yourself, it's winning this series. Get through Toronto. Beat Toronto in 7 games. Take them all the way to 7 if you need to, but beat Toronto in 7 games. Depending on what happens, you're more than likely going to have to face off against the 76ers or the Bucks, and you're going to get killed. You are going to get killed. The 76ers are an all-star starting 5, and the Greek Freak plays for Milwaukee, who's, in my opinion, the best player in the league when he's on. So
cut through him like butter.
Oh, absolutely. Blake Griffin is amazing. He's not going to be able to handle Giannis Antetokounmpo for 7 games. It's just not going to happen. So if you're the Pistons, this needs to be your goal. Let's beat Toronto. We beat Toronto in 7. We got our first playoff win in a while. But it's also building to the right direction. It means the players we have here are capable of doing this. Now you've got another year of offseason, another draft to add to that, and another year of everybody playing together, gelling together, becoming that much more one unit. Next goal is let's win the East. It's like those old Pistons, the Rasheed Wallace teams, the Chauncey Billups teams. They wanted to win it every year, but they knew first we got to win a series, then you got to win the East. Once you do that, you're in the finals. You're playing for a championship. Now let's go win a championship. It's steps. It's the same with the Red Wings. The Red Wings aren't going to turn around next year with all the talent they have or whatever they acquire and all of a sudden go win the Stanley Cup year 1. It doesn't happen. The Lions, we're going to talk about their free agency here in a minute. All that stuff is not going to lead to next year us sweeping through the league and a 16-0 team and winning the Super Bowl. Goal's got to be to win a playoff game or win 2 playoff games or win the division. Set these little tiny goals that are more than achievable than saying we're going to win the Super Bowl, because you're not going to win the Super Bowl. There's a reason the same 6 teams play for the Super Bowl every year, because they've taken those little steps to get there, or you're Tom Brady and Bill Belichick and you just automatically assume you're going to be in the Super Bowl every year. One of those two things. So we'll see, but I personally think a win against Toronto this week sets the stage for you saying, okay, we're a little more comfortable against Toronto. This should be a team we should be okay facing in the Eastern Conference playoffs. But like I said, that needs to be the only goal you have. A title can't be a goal this year because you're not a team that's going to contend for a title. You just aren't. You don't have enough there. All these other teams are far too complete. So we'll see what happens with it. I could be totally wrong. I really could. They could go in against Toronto and lose 4-0. So it's possible either way you look at it. Those are the little Pistons and Red Wings things we got to talk about because, as we said before the show, there's one big thing that we just can't skip over because just too much has happened in it, and that's NFL free agency. Russ, safe to say this has been one of the craziest free agencies you can remember?
I have 5 buckles on right now, so yes, it has been a wild ride.
It is crazy. It really is very crazy. So we're gonna do this a little differently because obviously we got a break here in a few minutes for a little sponsor for Sports Radio Detroit. Shout out to them. But first, let's lead off with, I guess, if you had to pick a free agency signing, not Lions, or any other free agency signing, Russ, is there one that stands out to you more than the rest as that's a move that immediately changes the face of that team?
I'm more inclined to pick one of the trades, to be honest with you there.
That's fine. That's fine. Now that anybody can go anywhere, what would you say is the move most? And obviously I think I know where you're going here, but what would you say is the move that most altered a team from when you're looking at the start of this week to where we are right now?
I guess I gotta go with the Browns there. That's as much as that hurts to say. We've got OBJ coming in there, and they have an offensive threat now. Outside of Jarvis Landry, that they've added some pieces. They added Sheldon Richardson too on the quiet, and nobody's really talking about that.
Yeah.
It's going to be Cleveland, so hopefully the old Cleveland buzz doesn't bite them. But this is a team creating a ton of buzz, and don't bet on them now because the odds are never going to be higher.
Okay, that's fair. I mean, that is probably the unanimous number one move that there is. Jay, is there one for you that just to you kind of sticks out as a big move that immediately changes the face of a team?
Yeah, I mean, it's not popular by any means because there's a lot of okay, good job, you're probably getting paid. But the more I thought about Bell going to the Jets,
yeah,
they needed to pair up a running back with their rookie quarterback because then that starts the beast. That's when you start filling in all the other spots to make it work. We know what it feels like to not have elite superstars and then having good supporting cast around it. We've got a couple pieces on D here, and Stafford is Stafford, and we finally have a good touch in the running back, and we've had good, excellent wide receivers, just not big depth in that area. When you finally get to build your pillars of your team, and then through the draft, you start building up the pieces that are going to complement them, and you weed out the old shit. I think that's important because it sets you up for success. Whereas I don't think you can do it the other way around. You can be Minnesota with great things and insulate Kirk Cousins, and he's decent. But I don't think you're ever going to win that way. You gotta have your pillars, and then you build your community around it. So I know he's going there for money. I don't think the Jets are going to win the Super Bowl, let alone make the playoffs. But I think it's a good step in Darnold's career. But we have to see how it actually plays out because they're still the Jets. So they have a chance of just completely crashing and burning.
Yeah, that's pretty fair. I would say. See, that one didn't make sense to me because, like you said, he's going for the money and all that. But correct me if I'm wrong. This is a guy that probably could have got a lot more money from other teams. I mean, what did he sit out last year for? He wanted more money, and it doesn't even seem like he probably took the best available offer. So, are you saying that you want to be the new face of the Jets, and you think you can turn this franchise around? Because let's be honest, they've got a lot of problems there. You're going to be sitting on a losing squad for about another 5 or 6 years before you can say you helped turn the face of that franchise around. And as we all know, the lifespan of a running back is not necessarily that long. You don't really have that much of an amount of time to do. So While I see what you're saying, it makes sense. It's an interesting move. I just feel like there had to have been a better offer on that table, and why he didn't take it, I find curious. Mine's actually another Steeler as well. I'm going with Antonio Brown, but I'm going with Antonio Brown because, yes, he's an elite receiver and he's an immediate impact on that offense. But if you ask me, that move is an immediate impact for the fans. John Gruden and Mike Mayock just bought themselves some time. They turned into Mr. Allens last year. 29, 2 for 50. We'll give you any deal you want for anybody on this team. They just wholesaled everybody. So going into this year, and then they had a season that was terrible. They were not a good football team. So going into this now, this free agency, this offseason period, they needed to make a move immediately that said, hey, we know what we're doing. This might not seem like it all the time, but we have a good idea what we're doing. And signing Antonio Brown and getting him on that team does that, because now you've shown that you've got that big-time receiver, so you're clearly going to have some semblance of an offense. You've got a lot of pieces to address. Go and address them in the draft. You've got plenty of picks to do that. But this right here tells me, okay, they at least have a direction, and I think it bought Gruden and it bought Mike Mayock some time to build. Let's see what they can do with it. And I mean, to be honest, Russ, I think you'll agree with me. They have enough picks in this draft. They could even potentially move up in the first round and try to get a higher pick and go after that big splash, big name player.
Absolutely, they need to go and be aggressive and replace, a guy like Khalil Mack. That they don't have a talent like that anymore, and that defense kind of scares me.
Yeah,
not in a good way, scares.
No, absolutely, I'm with you. So that to me would be the one. I would say that one showed the most splash from an all-around perspective. The other one I really like was Earl Thomas going to Baltimore. I like him. I think he's a heck of a football player, and it'll be interesting to see what he can do there. I mean, other ones were nice. Like, to me, the one that I think is going to be the most overhyped one that doesn't make any sense, but isn't going to pan out the way they think it is. I still maintain Nick Foles going to the Jacksonville Jaguars was not a great move. I think that's a team that's got way too many problems. No, Blake Bortles wasn't a great quarterback, and it clearly wasn't all his fault, though. That team has a lot of problems. They've got a head case for a corner, and I just think they're a team that is still ways away from being what they should be. I think that 1 year where they made the nice run in the playoffs was a little bit more of a surprise to everyone kind of thing. So I don't think that Nick Foles is their guy. I think that he's got a lot of money. I think his contract's got $56 million guaranteed for him. So he's got a lot of money, but I'd be very shocked if he's still the starting quarterback at the end of that contract in Jacksonville. I really would. Jacksonville, to me, could potentially be a team looking for a quarterback in the next year or two in the draft.
Absolutely.
So we'll see what happens.
They need to be.
They absolutely do. Before we get to the Lions, I think there's one we have to talk about because he is a former Lion. And that is the fact that our boy Golden Tate just signed a contract with the New York Giants. Russ, have you seen the details on that one? I haven't seen the details yet on it.
I have not yet, no.
Okay. So
Jay, had you? I know you were the one that brought it up.
Oh, yeah, sure, Jay.
I think it was 4 years. It's just over $9 million a year, and I think it's all guaranteed.
Ooh, wow.
I'll pull it up right now, but I know they're not winning anything anytime soon there, and he just got paid.
Oh, absolutely, he got paid. But I mean, that one's another one that I think to me makes a lot of sense for the fact that Eli isn't the. Oh, here it is.
$23 million fully guaranteed of the 37.5.
4 year, $37.5 million. So that one to me is another one I like because I don't think either of you will argue with me that the Giants are now officially a run-first team when you got a guy like Saquon Barkley in the backfield. You're a team that's catering to the run, so you need to you need to have at least one decent receiver that makes, attempting to pass the ball believable. You can't do it with a bunch. Lions proved that last year. You can't do it with a bunch of plugged-together players that don't make any sense. Golden Tate going there, he's going to see the ball. He's going to get his yards. He's the primary guy out of the gate, which is what he wants to be. That was the other thing. That's the thing that I think Golden Tate was here, but I don't think he ever felt like he was here, was that primary guy. We always had that big, deep threat receiver, and I think that Golden, he never really felt like he was numero uno, even though, in my opinion, he was. So I think going to the Giants, he is that now. He's that numero uno guy. You know Eli's going to look for him. You know Eli's going to do everything he can to get him the ball. And I just think I like the move. Russ, I don't know where you sit with it, but I like the move. If you're Golden Tate, you got big shoes to fill. You got to be OBJ now, and that's not very easy to do. But having seen him firsthand over the last few years, to me, he's a guy that can fill those shoes to some extent.
I mean, I think he's a great guy if he's looking. It's a great spot for him if he's looking to raise his profile in the league. Like you touched on, this Giants team probably isn't going anywhere anytime soon. But Golden Tate absolutely can be a number one, and he's got a chance to be like the only show in town, really, for the passing game for a team that is probably going to have to pass a fair amount because they're going to be losing games, and you can only give it to Barkley so many times before his legs fall off. For winning, meh. For success, meh, because he's not even in the best passing offense that he probably could have been in. But you're going to hear Golden Tate's name a lot. And being in the middle of New York, if that's what he's looking for, he's in the right spot for it because he's going to be in the middle of the spotlight.
Yeah. All right, Jay, I'm going to give you a nice question. It's easy. This is like you hitting it right down the center of the fairway with the driver. This should be a 300-yard shot for you right here.
Chang.
Yeah, going through this draft, looking at what the Giants appear to need, which is going to be a quarterback. They need to go after a quarterback. Eli, it can't be their guy for very much longer. So assuming they draft where they draft and nothing changes, who is throwing the ball to Golden Tate week 6 of next year? Eli Manning, Dwayne Haskins, Kyler Murray. Is it going to be a first-round pick chucking this ball to them by week 6? Or is Eli Manning still the starting quarterback of the New York Giants week 6 of the 2019 season?
I mean, just yesterday they came out and they basically praised Eli, saying that he's their quarterback, and that might just be a move to, protect themselves with any future decisions that they make. Maybe they do draft a QB this year. They definitely need one. Eli stumbled across 2 championships, and then he's got to go eventually.
Yeah.
Week 6, I mean,
week 6 is enough time for them to either be 3-3, 0-6, or 6-0. That's what I'm saying. It's enough time to know what way this season's going.
Yeah, I don't think it matters. I think they're going to let Eli stay there until he doesn't want to be there. I think. The return they got for OBJ was just insanely low. And I'm shocked that they didn't try to get more. And when we know mismanagement very well in our neck of the woods. So I can't have faith in it, even though I barely know anything about it. I don't have faith enough that, they're ever going to make that switch. Like when are the Lions going to switch from Stafford? Like, that's a $1 million question. I don't ever see Eli, stepping out after only 6 games in the season.
Okay, no, that's fair. I would like to point out, though, that the GM for the Arizona Cardinals, when asked about if they're committed to Rosen, said, yeah, he's our guy for now.
For today.
For today. So you can commit to someone all you want, but we all know in this league, we've seen GMs and coaches and presidents say, oh, yeah, this is our guy. 2 days later, he's on another team. So you're just trying to keep the peace in that locker room. But I also will say there was one thing I agree with you that they like Eli, and I think Eli's got his own timetable for how much longer he can go there. But I will say one thing. You can't go and sign Golden Tate, a guy who's still in his prime, still a very good receiver. You can't have a running back like Saquon Barkley. You can't build a team, around youth and get some serious pieces and then expect them to all stick around if it's clear the one problem you have is a quarterback. So while I think Eli's got some rope to work with, Eli isn't like, these other guys we talk about who have the keys to the kingdom and they can leave when they want to leave. Eli's a guy who has to start proving a little bit why he has 2 Super Bowl rings, why he is going to be, in the Ring of Honor for the Giants one day. Because if Eli goes out there and they start this season 0-6, 0-7, there's absolutely no way you can justify number 10 calling the plays for the rest of that year. It's time to say, okay, we drafted a quarterback with the first round. He needs to see the field. It's the same way it happened with Eli. They drafted Eli Manning a month after signing Kurt Warner. Kurt Warner started the year. The team wasn't good. They said, all right, Kurt, sit down, relax. Your job's safe. We suck. Let's get Eli in there. Eli never gave the keys back. He took over and ran with it. So this is a Giants team I think is at that phase again. They need to assess. If Eli can get it done, this team can get into the playoffs with what they have, all for it. Go for it. I don't think that's the case. I would, as I asked you that question, I would say Week 6, I think that first-round pick is the guy out there calling the plays, throwing the ball, because I just don't think Eli Manning is the guy to do it for them for the remainder of his career. I just think he's reached that point. He's seen his high point. This team is picking off. They lose Landry Collins. OBJ's gone. It's a sign. This isn't a team that expects to be a big contender next year. So if you're going to draft that quarterback, play that quarterback. You might as well. It worked out in Cleveland. I mean, Baker Mayfield turned out all right, and I don't think anybody really had any faith in him being any good. So we'll see what happens there. We want to talk about the Lions. The last one I want to ask about, because this one didn't make sense to me, and like I've said on the show a million times before, Russ is a lot smarter than I am, so he can maybe explain.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. This one doesn't make sense for me for the fact of why they did it. U of M wide receiver Devin Funchess, he's our boy. He got a 1-year max value $13 million deal with the Indianapolis Colts.
Huh.
Why would you ever give Devin Funchess that much money? And why on earth would the Colts need Devin Funchess?
I have a harder time answering the second one.
Exactly.
Because, Devin Funchess, he's more of that wide receiver, move tight end, kind of hybrid player, right? Like that.
Mm-hmm.
The tight end role is being split into two players, guys that can block and guys that absolutely can't, so please catch the ball.
Yeah. Well, and
they've
he's
already
never going
got
to win a
that
foot
guy.
race either. So
No, they already have that guy in their passing offense in Eric Ebron, who,
Yep.
whatever we think about him in our time in his time in Detroit, he had a really good year last year. He seems to fit that offense really well. So why he got paid? Probably because height pays when you're a wide receiver, and he's got that in spades. But he's not a $13 million player. Talk about Trey Flowers getting $17 million. Like, they probably had to pay that much to only get a 1-year deal to go for it.
yeah. Well, and
But
that
they
to me,
overpaid.
that to me was going to be my statement of this sounds like one of those ones where it's like, all right, let's lease the car for a year. Let's see what we get out of it. You see a guy like Ebron who did nothing for us here, go there and all of a sudden he has a great one. So you gotta if someone like Funchess who didn't have a bad career in Carolina, but he was never like numero uno breaking every record kind of guy. You got to think, hey, maybe I can work that magic in Indy. Indy looking at it goes, well, you're not as great as you think you are. Let's go with a 1-year deal. We'll give you a butt ton of money, but at the end of the day, it's 1 year of us having to pay you. If you go out there and have 600 yards receiving, and are what we're kind of thinking you probably are, we're not obligated to you anymore. We're good. If you go out there and have the only way this doesn't pan out for Indy is if he goes out there and catches 1,500 receiving yards and like 35 touchdowns, because then he's going to want that much money every year, and you're going to have a little bit of a harder time. But I don't get this one. I just don't understand Devin Funchess getting a max deal, 1-year deal with an Indianapolis coach. And in my opinion, I don't really see why Indy needs that receiver. Indy, I don't remember all the players off the top of my head, but if I remember correctly, Indy has a pretty decent receiving core already. So I don't know what Funchess brings that these other guys don't have, I guess would be my way to say it.
It was like basically like they got another Moncrief. I mean, like so they've got T.Y. Hilton, and I don't know who needs to be opposite of him, but Funchess is not doing it. Like, let Ebron play tight end and put Doyle like in the slot and let him just stand up and catch balls if that's all they want was height.
Absolutely.
I don't understand it at all.
Let me put it this way: it makes more sense to me that Frank Gore got a contract from a team than it does that Devin Funchess did. And Frank Gore's 77 years old. So
He turned 78 in a couple months.
turned 78 in a couple months. Good for you. Happy birthday, Frank Gore. In case we don't remember, it must have been a great time playing when they had leather helmets. So I like Frank Gore. I really do. I like Frank Gore. I kind of hope he just keeps stumbling on and keeps going because it's fun to watch. All right. So when we come back, we're going to talk Lions free agency. There's a lot to talk about. Some signings that are clear cut. Boom. That's what we needed. Other signings that, you wonder why, I guess. There's one for me that's a why. So we'll bring it up. All that when we come back right here on Armchair Sports Talk.
Hi, this is Jason Pinkett from Pucking Around and Spinning the Wheels on Sports Radio Detroit. Check us out every Sunday over on the SRD Hockey feed on Spotify, TuneIn Radio, Podbean, iTunes, and Stitcher. That's SRD Hockey in your search bar. New episodes every week.
This is Armchair Sports Talk.
All right, we're back here on Armchair Sports Talk after a nice little break. And, guys, it's time to talk about the free agency we care about the most. That's the Detroit Lions free agency. Jay, safe to say the Lions made quite a bit of a splash in free agency this year?
Yeah, it was excellent. Like, I thought I loved the NHL free agency. I loved the NFL one just as much. So these are good times around this time. So I like it.
I guess to ask it, is there, there's 4 big signings, 5 if you want to count the last one, which I know you have plenty to say about the last one. Is there one signing above the rest that to you, when you saw that come across the ticker, you're like, yep, I like that. That's the one. That's the good signing we needed as the Detroit Lions?
Like, complete package, Jesse James.
Okay.
The shoring up the tight end position, like the Red Wings and the goalie and the Lions in the tight end position is practically the same, like, stigma around it. Like, we never have enough. We never have the best. It's never good enough. You get chased out of town.
I can see that.
Getting Jesse James, Jesse James said today, he's like, yeah, I'm happy to be with the Lions. I get to get away from the drama from that other organization. Like, we're drama free because we're not allowed to be like human beings at press conferences. We don't have those issues here.
Yeah.
Jesse James is going to be a dependable tight end for the Lions, and it lets us focus on other needs that we desperately need through the draft. So that's like that warm hug. It's a comfort pick, and I love everything about it.
No, I like Jesse James. That was a great one. My comparison, and Russ, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this. The tight end position for the Lions, you compared it to the goalie, Jay. I would compare it more to a shortstop for the Tigers that can actually hit the baseball. Because that's something I feel like I feel like that's something we haven't had since Trammell. I don't know.
Guillen had like 2 years.
Yeah, and then his legs fell apart.
Yeah.
So, no, I will say I like Jesse James. That's one that when I saw that, I'm like, I like that because guess what it does? It makes my prediction that we're going to take a tight end with the 8th overall pick not true, and I'm so happy I don't have to back that and try to justify it anymore because boy was it difficult to do. Russ, for you, was there one signing, like I said, when it comes across the ticker, when you see it on Twitter, you go, yep, I like that one. That's one that completely makes sense to me. I can't question it in any way.
Trey Flowers. Easy. Trey Flowers. That was their number one target. And they went out and got him. He's still young. He's 25. This is not the kind of player with the kind of talent that you see hit free agency all that often. Kind of makes me a little worried because usually when the Patriots give up on a talented guy that's that young, they fall to pieces shortly thereafter. But I think this might be an instance of they just didn't want to pay him, not necessarily that the talent was gone. Because even last year he had elite production. Not necessarily. I mean, he's not jumping off the scoreboard with the obscene sack total. That's not really his game. He'll probably get about 7 a season. That's been his average. But this is a guy that controls the line, and we finally have one.
Mm-hmm.
We finally have another interior lineman, or defensive lineman, rather. He can play inside and outside.
He can play anywhere on that line.
Put him next to Snacks, and the D-line looks scary for the first time since what? Robert Porcher?
Yeah.
Probably. We finally have something here. They did a little cap finagling there. They gave him a ton of money, but he's only going to count $6.4 million against the cap year one. so there's still room to go out and do other things and grab somebody. But that was an exciting one. That was one of those, hey, they used to go together, being Patricia and Flowers. Maybe we can get them to go here.
Mm-hmm.
The kind of fan bullshit that you pull every free agency, and it actually happened for once.
Yeah,
so that was
true.
exciting.
That's very true. I actually love it, and for me, it is that yes, we have another interior guy, but like you said, he can pretty much play anywhere on that line you want to put him. I like it for that reason that he's versatile. You need him to go inside and stuff that up the middle run. You got him. You need him to come off that edge and make it tough for that quarterback to, you want to shrink that pocket. You got it. That's something that we wanted Ziggy to do for all these years, and he was never able to do consistently. Trey Flowers proves that he's a potential to be able to do that. He just adds that defensive front that we need to make more intense because my choice, and Jay, I'm not going to lie, Jesse James was my guy too. I really liked it. He completely solidifies that tight end position right now. On paper, you got to think that's the right move for us. But mine is actually Justin Coleman for the fact that I'm taking a little bit of insider information here. Listening to the Mike Valenti show the other day, he had TJ Lang on, and Lang even admitted the Lions defense is a coverage defense. You get a couple big guys up front to try to put some pressure on it. Corners have to, are the key to that defense. Got to cover, got to stay on, and Coleman is that. He's a good corner, a good solid corner. I don't know about the money. 4 years, $36 million is quite a bit of money. He better be more than just a nickel corner for us. But I like that. I like that you identify what your defense is, and you go out and get pieces for that defense. You go out and get pieces that are going to help you in that area that we need filled. So that's a great one. So we had Justin Coleman, 4 years, $36 million. Flowers, 5 years, $90 million. Jesse James, 4 years, $25 million. The best one, I know how much Jay loves it, was Zach Zenner signing a contract with us. But now this is the one that when I looked at it, I said, ooh, but I also said, I don't know why. That for me, and please, someone feel free to argue with me on this one. I'm totally opening myself up for this one. That's Danny Amendola.
Yep.
I like Danny Amendola. He's not a bad receiver. This to me feels like the former Patriots people just trying to bring in that nostalgic piece. He was good for the Patriots at one point. He's been good for about 12 other teams since the Patriots. This one to me just doesn't make sense as to why. I feel like when you look at the free agency of receivers, there had to have been someone better than Danny Amendola available. So, am I wrong in saying that Danny Amendola may not have been this amazing sign that we absolutely needed to have?
No, I don't think you're wrong at all. I mean, anytime you're bringing in a 33-year-old wide receiver who hasn't played a full season since 2014, it's fair to have some concerns about that. It's not good value. That contract could be up to $5.75 million for 1 year. And I guess the ultimate point is I understand that they're trying to do the Patriot thing, right? The Patriot way and all that. But you imitate the best team by taking the players they would take, not the players that they had. And I know that kind of flies in the face of my Trey Flowers love.
Yeah.
But I think these are two very different situations here, where Amendola is clearly on the downside, and Trey Flowers, you probably outbid and beat New England to him. I don't know who wanted Danny Amendola.
Yeah, I don't know. Jay, what about you? When you look at Danny Amendola, is this a signing that you see where the potential was, or is this kind of one of those head scratchers where you wonder what was it about the other guys that were sitting out there in free agency that Danny Amendola was the must get?
I don't know. I don't know if it's just because the money's going to work out, so we spend it elsewhere because we clearly did. But there's zero expectations on it. I mean, he's at best your third, your fourth string wideout for the team.
Probably third.
But what was that, third?
Yeah, probably third if you're thinking about it. Yeah, I mean, Galladay is going to be number one.
Right.
Marvin's 2. So Amendola is probably taking that slot position or third guy. Yeah, I would say he's probably your third option.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I absolutely fell in love with the fact that as soon as he landed in Detroit, he was bumping some Eminem and he took his cap off and put a Tigers hat on.
Yep.
That's great. That's theatrics, but generally when you go by a fancy store that has to put on a nice window dressing, you don't know what you're getting on the inside of that store. And I'm just afraid that we're making it look good, even though he's going to have like a touchdown and maybe 30 catches on the year. So I have very low expectations on it. If he surprises me, great. If not, then it's as advertised with him.
Okay. And then the last one, obviously, I don't have any of the details on it, but Jay's got plenty to say on it. That's the signing of Zach Zenner. I like Zach Zenner. I think he's a little bit of a fan favorite, but I like him for the fact that he's a north-south guy. He doesn't do a lot of juking or make you miss. He's a give me the ball, tell me which hole I'm supposed to go through, and I'm just going to run straight for as many yards as I can, which is what we wanted LeGarrette Blount to do, but LeGarrette Blount seemed to think that he was freaking Barry Sanders with his making people miss, but oh wait, I don't make anybody miss kind of gameplay. So, Jay, your thoughts on signing of Zach Zenner to stay here in Detroit?
I have zero patience or time for fan favorites. If you're a fan favorite, you better be putting up ridiculous numbers. But I have zero patience for guys like that. You don't serve as any value. He averages 20 yards a game, and the only good thing we had going for him is that he had 174 attempts. And through that, he's only had one fumble. So, okay, yeah, he's consistent. That's fine. He's not going to drop the ball. We know he's an up and down, north and south kind of player. But, he's like the equivalent of Don Kelly or Drew Miller, or just put in he's just a nice guy. And I don't have time for that shit. You are not our number 2 running back, and you're definitely not our third string running back. What we have between Theo Riddick and his name is, I think Blunt's still on the team, but there's another guy that's escaping me too. I would rather take someone who's lesser known or established than continuing just retreading Zenner.
Are you genuinely forgetting about Carrion?
No, he's number 1, lockstep. That's not even. I'm talking after 1.
It's Carrion, Riddick, and Zenner.
Yeah, there's nobody else there right now.
LeGarrette's not on this team anymore.
Yeah, which might need to update their roster on their website.
And by the way, they need to get rid of Theo Riddick. Theo Riddick has proven he's not a running back in this league. He's a wide receiver. So if you want to move him he's a slot back. You want to move him to wide receiver, move him to wide receiver. He's not. It's time to invest in running backs. Great if they can catch out of the backfield. That's awesome. But the weird thing is, Ezekiel Elliott, one of the best running backs in the league. Guess what? He can still catch out of the backfield. Le'Veon Bell, one of the best running backs in the league. He can catch out of the backfield. One of these things is not like the other. Theo Riddick,
there's no way,
can catch out of the backfield. He can't run out of the backfield.
But there's no way Zach Zenner is the best option for our number 2 running back on the team.
No. I'm not saying that. I'm saying what we have are those 3. What I'm saying is Zach Zenner is a good spark kind of guy. You know what he's doing. He's not going to you're not going to give him a toss and have him run outside and make people miss. Zach Zenner it's 3rd and 2. We need to get this. Give him the ball and tell him to go right up the middle. He's someone who can do that. Is he going to get it every time? No, not even close. But he's a north and south guy. He's a guy that's going to hit the hole. It's very rare that the first guy's taking him down. So if he gets the hole and he gets a little bit of an opening, he's good for a couple yards. He's a chewer. He eats up yards. He's not our first running back. Not even close. He's not our second running back if you go out and sign. That's why they're talking about having to sign a second running back. He's not even that. But he's a 3rd back. You keep on the team. He's good for special teams. He's an energy guy. He goes and does what he needs to do. Something tells me I could tell him, hey, we need you to play safety for these 3 plays. This guy's got to get his ankle retaped. We need you to play safety. Is he going to be the best safety in the league? No, but he's probably going to tackle somebody. He's probably not going to make a mistake. He's a spark guy who's going to do anything he can to be on the football field. So that's what he is. I'm not even trying to justify that he's a second back for any team. He's at least a good 3rd back option for 3rd down, goal line, energy kind of plays. Just like he's almost like, it's weird to say, he's almost like the goon, the guy who, when he gets in the fight, sparks everybody else up, gets the energy. He's that guy. He brings the energy going. He gets everybody going, gets you going again. That's what he is for me.
Yeah, I don't want emotion. I want wins. I want touchdowns. I want success. I don't need fucking great. You make me felt great on that one drive because now it's 1st and 10 instead of 3 and 2, but we're still in our own red zone. Zach Zenner, he'll never be on my good list. I can't do it. Can't.
But would you? So you're saying you would much rather our running back roster look like Carrion, Theo, and Blunt for another year? Because I can guarantee you, the way it went last year, if you had given them an equal amount of carries, Zach Zenner would have averaged more yards than LeGarrette Blunt.
I'd rather not have a guy where I know his ceiling already. I'd rather draft someone in later rounds this year and just plug him in, see what he can do. Give him a chance.
They're more than likely going to do that.
His ceiling is. He's not going anywhere.
Do that. Zenner doesn't preclude you from drafting it. In fact, I'd say just re-signing Zenner points to them drafting a player because you're bringing back him. All right, I have my third receiver or third running back spot filled. It's locked in. I know what I'm getting. Now let's go get something else.
And the upside is... Go ahead, Russ.
No, I was just going to say, if they had gone and signed a big-name guy, if they had gone after and got Mark Ingram, then they're probably not spending any kind of a decently high pick on a running back because Carrion, Mark Ingram, were invested. That's where you're going. Now the option is still there to go get a high talent, high upside guy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, but that's to me is too, like Russ said, you have your third guy signed. He's never going to be anything more than the third back for this team. You have your third running back signed. You've got your spark plug. The thing is, and this might just be because we're Detroit fans, or at least I'm a Detroit fan that I'm so critical of him, Theo still has trade value in this league. There are still teams that would take a guy like Theo because they know what he's capable of. You get these guys like McVay who are and even Gruden, who are these offensive gurus who have these creative minds to work people in different ways than you would think to use them. Theo's still that for someone. So if you're thinking about it in the draft, you can say, hey, we've got the 32nd pick in the draft. We really would like to be more in like the upper 20s, low teens. We'll give you this, and we'll throw in Theo Riddick for that pick, because then that pick moves them up to where they want to get the guy that's going to replace Theo. Theo still has value, so that's what I'm saying is they're still probably going to go out in this draft and get a running back. Where they get him, who knows? And he could be a late round guy no one's ever heard of. But I think that Zenner's a good piece to have. I think if you're looking at a running back in that rotation that needs to go, for me it's Theo, because I just don't see Theo Riddick having the same amount of value in Detroit he had a few years ago when we were having all of our struggles with who even was the starting running back for the Detroit Lions. Back when we thought Reggie Bush was actually a good signing for the Detroit Lions. Yeah, it did hurt. It's fine. We got over it. We have another 100-yard rusher since Reggie, so he doesn't hold value in this team anymore. My last thing, though, free agency is by no means over. It's, we still don't know where the Lions are going to go, if they're going to do anything else. They really could be done until draft day. We could see something happening. Who knows? But when we've talked about it leading up to this, we've all kind of given our opinions where they needed to go with that first pick, where they needed to be looking. Safe to say my choice of tight end is going to change now. Not there anymore.
You hope so.
You hope so. You really do.
Oh, but, God.
Yeah, why would you do that to us, Jay? God dang it.
Because someone's got to be pessimistic around here.
Why are you the way that you are?
You would hope it changes. They seem to have done what I believe it was Russ that wanted them to address the line, the defensive line. They went out and did that. Justin, I don't listen when you talk, so I have no idea what you said, but I'm pretty sure you probably said kicker. So,
my guy.
Yeah, it's fair. So I will let you lead it off here, Jay. Seeing what they did, they went out and got a corner. They went out and got a tight end, a defensive lineman, wide receiver. They got that third running back spot solidified. Now that we've seen kind of what the Lions have done to fill pieces, if you're looking at that pick, with that first round pick, what piece do they need to address if it hasn't changed for you already?
So addressing, how do I put this? What I'm interested in is I like counteracting what most of the league is going towards, which is an offensive side of style of play. When the 3-on-3 got first introduced in NHL, most teams are just like, oh, let's go end to end to end. No, it became a possession thing. Go off sides on purpose. Go retreat back to the red line and try again. I want to do the opposite of what other teams are doing. So if we started this train of going defense and focusing on that side of the ball, which I wanted Patricia to do in the first place because he's a defensive-minded coach, keep going. I'd have no problems with that. You listen to some of the people around the town, and they're like, oh, well, they're going to have, no offense. It's going to be low-scoring games. And, a win's a win. I don't care how they do it as long as they do it. So if they can focus on defense still and just build up a defense that helps support the offense and all their struggles that they're bound to have, at least you're committing to something, especially at a time where everyone else is doing the opposite. And, that's how trends start. Someone decided to just focus on offense. Now everyone wants to have all these offensive schemes and younger head coaches. Well, do the opposite. See what happens.
Okay, that's fair. I'll let Russ go, but I'm going to say, Jay, I'm actually on the other side of the fence from you on this one. So
really?
I'm going to try to justify it. I'll probably lose in my attempt, but I'm going to try to justify it. Russ, you were a defensive line guy. That's where you wanted him to go. Obviously, Trey Flowers doesn't completely end their need to still address that. You always, depth is always something that's a value here, but it may not be a first-round pick value. Has it changed for you where they need to go? And if it has changed, what position do they need to most look at?
Well, I'll start off with saying I had said the defensive front seven. Maybe it's a little bit of cheating that I include two position groups, but yeah, it changes a little in that it goes from the defensive front seven to the linebacking core because they've largely done nothing to address it. Hey, a guy like Jake Ryan's out there, Bob Quinn. Hey, maybe take a look. But no, in the draft, I want a linebacker. If Devin White's there,
yeah.
Oh please, that'd be phenomenal. Right now, it's Jared Davis, who is kind of one-dimensional, and it's nothing else worth talking about, really. It depends if you want to call a guy an outside linebacker or defensive end, with Akwara and Kennard.
That's why we have a couple hybrids there that make it tough to specify. But yes, I see what you're saying with that. Yeah.
But actual true linebackers, a guy that can cover, like Jay's saying, this is more of a passing league. You need defenders that can defend all facets of the game, especially what everyone's going to. So give me a linebacker that can cover. Having one would be nice.
Okay. And the reason I decided to tease that with Jay is because I knew Russ was going to go right where I was going to go, and I can't say it any better than Russ did, that linebacker would be the piece. So I'm actually going to oppose Jay for the one reason that I think you look at this team. They've spent the last couple years drafting young offensive linemen, trying to build, trying to find the right pieces for a consistent front five. They have their running back. Carrion is our guy. We saw that. He stays healthy for a year. This is a guy that I think is a 1,000-yard rusher. I really do. They went out and got Jesse James, tight end. Not brand new to the league, but someone who's still got some years on him. He can still play. He brings in that, he has the ability to block. He has that ability to catch. Kenny last year proved he's probably going to be our number one receiver going forward. He's got a heck of a lot of talent. I've never, ever, ever made it unclear that I am not behind Marvin Jones as a wide receiver in Detroit. I would be more than happy to see him go in a different direction, part ways, go somewhere, do what you got to do. Trade him, get some value for him. I'm fine with saying bye. And for that, I'm going to do the one thing I've spent all the last 2 years of this show saying the Lions should never do.
Uh-oh.
The Lions should go, if he's still there, and they should take DK Metcalf. They should take wide receiver, get that second wide receiver, that second big-name player, and solidify this offense. You'll have a young running back, two young wide receivers, a guy who can still chuck the ball with the best of them when he has the time to do it, and you've got 5 young offensive linemen who have been playing together for a couple years now that you got to think should start seeing some serious success. So if I'm the Detroit Lions, let's build on that offense. You went and got a couple defensive players. You've got some, already established talent with Slay. You've got Snacks for a few years. You just re-signed Akwara. You've got guys like Devin Kennard, Jared Davis. You've got, Flowers now. That defense is starting to look like it's got the pieces it needs. Go get the last thing on second wide receiver. Stafford started looking really bad when he didn't have that second option to throw to because he had no idea who his second receiver was because it was someone different on every play. Go get that second receiver, solidify that offense, and this should be a team that has a heck of a lot of chances to win the NFC North this year. So now that I've said that, feel free to fire away because I know neither of you agree with me on that one.
So I can't say it's bad. I mean, he should be a worldly talent for any team. But like, I could argue that a great, like Russ is saying, picking on his position group, I could argue that a great linebacker could equally be as effective as a great wide receiver because if that linebacker is making plays with the offense on the field, you're getting more chances for that offense to be efficient. So I'm not mad at the selection. I would like to see a Detroit team focus on one side of their play and do it efficiently. So at the end of the day, they said, hey, we went all in on defense or we went all in on offense and this was our best bet. If DK Metcalf's not there, you better not be picking a wide receiver. But if he's there, I wouldn't be mad. I like to see how it happens, but I don't think we have the luxuries of trying to be balanced and we can't do anything perfect yet.
Okay, I'm with you. But you said you can't be mad, and that's great. I'm glad you can't be mad. But I have to ask you, Jay. No, I mean, like, but it's to be fair. Jay has always kind of been the heartbeat of Detroit. He kind of speaks the way most fans would speak when it comes to it. We're sitting there on draft night. We're watching it. We're kind of seeing, okay, he's off the board. Commissioner walks out, says, with the 8th pick in the draft, the Detroit Lions select DK Metcalf, wide receiver out of Ole Miss. Can you honestly say that your first instinct is going to go, all right, yeah, let's see what happens here? Because I don't think it would be.
For me, though, it shortens the leash on Stafford. It changes the story for him because if he can't succeed with a superstar stud rookie who just destroyed the combine, then I have no hope for that man. So I'm okay. It's almost a setup for Stafford. And, yeah, we have another weapon opposite of Galladay. Sure, let's see what happens and roll the dice. I can't be mad at it.
Okay, that's fair. Russ, what about you? DK Metcalf, 8th overall?
No.
Okay.
It'll work.
That's fair. That's fair. But that's what's great about this show. We don't share the same opinion.
No, and it's, look, does the guy look like a modern-day Adonis? Oh, my goodness, yeah. It's ridiculous, right? It's easy to fall in love with what happened at the Combine. Let's not forget that at Ole Miss, though, he didn't look that special.
No.
His freshman year, averaged 56 yards receiving a game. His sophomore year, 81, and didn't play the whole season. Can he light up a gym that he walks into? Absolutely. But by the same token, he also put up a 3-cone in a shuttle that was slower than, Tom Brady.
Ooh.
Yeah, remember how bad his combine looked?
It wasn't great.
So, yeah, DK Metcalf in a straight line and on a fly route, on a deep ball, trying to jump over a corner. Yeah, that looks real sexy.
But, I mean, is it fair to say that a combine is indicative of a career?
No, and that's why I pointed out his Ole Miss numbers as well. He didn't look that great at Ole Miss. I'm not convinced that this isn't an underwear Olympics riser. Right? Is he going to get taken in the first round? Absolutely, he's going to end up getting taken in the first round. Al Davis is probably going to come back from the dead
to grab
so they can use one of their 4 picks on him. I guarantee it if I wasn't so sure that you might be able to just keep all the Ouija boards away from the draft table. But this is the guy that I don't like the direction. If I understand why you want a wide receiver in the first round. It is a passing league. I'm not convinced DK Metcalf is the guy.
Well, DK Metcalf was just a name. We don't actually have to stick to DK. That's the name that almost everybody is predicting is going to be that first receiver off the board. Yeah. So DK Metcalf's just the name. If it's another guy, that's totally fine. I'm all for that. I'm gonna ask one more thing to really push it. But then Russ, you brought up something that we're gonna end the show with because I think it fits perfectly into the topic. So my last thing is I'm gonna get back into the mindset of a Lions fan, but I'm gonna get in the mindset of a Lions fan who doesn't trust their front office.
All of them. Got it.
It's fair. It's fair. But this is something in listening and reading, fans' perspectives. Everybody's sold out on Stafford. They're done. They're not. They're ready to. A lot of people think he's the reason, and that's not to say he's not one of the contributing reasons. So, as a Lions fan, Jay, you can go first here. Which pick gives you more faith in this team? Them taking someone like DK Metcalf, or hearing with the 8th pick overall, the Detroit Lions select Dwayne Haskins?
Oh, good God!
Well, it's been mentioned. It's been mentioned that the Lions should consider a quarterback.
I mean, if there's ever a time with all the pieces that we just did in free agency and all the veteran voices and the feel-good people like Amendola and goddamn it, Zenner. I mean, I'm a proponent of getting quarterbacks often. I've got no problem with that because we have no depth in that position.
Okay.
If they were to do that, dear God, buckle in, because that would just be the city would go nuts. But you didn't just pay him all that money, so it's not. I don't see it happening. I see DK Metcalf happening before Dwayne Haskins. But if they do it, oh good God, I would just have to sit back and listen. I wouldn't be able to formulate an opinion yet.
So you're saying though to keep faith in Quinn, DK Metcalf does that easier for you than saying Dwayne Haskins or a player like Dwayne Haskins?
It's too erratic. Yeah, Dwayne Haskins would be too erratic. I would lose faith in what the hell is actually happening. Not after what they just did in free agency. You just insulated, your heart of your team with great talent. Let's see what happens first. So if he did that, yeah, Quinn, you got to lay off, some of the extracurriculars while you're working, buddy.
Stay away from that weed butter. Gotcha. I'm with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. Russ, same question. I'm not going to be able to pose it any other way. Same question.
If the Lions take Dwayne Haskins at number 8, our next episode will just be an hour and a half of car crashes because that's the only way to show the chaos that would ensue from that kind of pick. No, I don't want DK Metcalf at 8. I want him more than I want a quarterback. I'll say it that way. If this team is going to compete in the next 2-3 years here, it's going to have to be with Stafford. That's the way the team is constructed. That's the way the salary cap is set up.
Yeah.
You don't have. I mean, what are the odds that we're going to have a Russell Wilson pop up and steal away, the job here? It's not going to happen. No one's going to get that opportunity. Really, would it be nice? Sure. It'd be nice to have Russell Wilson.
Yeah, it would.
But not every third-round quarterback, not every first-round quarterback, not every top 10 quarterback turns into Russell Wilson. So that is a valuable trade chip, and if they play the cards right, it'll be the last time they pick that high. And in any time recent, you have a quarterback that's in the top half of the league. Let's spend it on something else.
Okay. And to be fair, I would like to point out right now, before everybody thinks I'm a crazy person, my choice was linebacker, but Russ brought up linebacker. So we're not sitting here agreeing like crazy. I chose a different option that still, to me, is justifiable. It's a wide receiver. I'm not even going to say DK Metcalf because that puts that name solidified to it. It's a wide receiver over a quarterback. Am I Stafford's biggest fan? Absolutely not. But am I someone who's sitting there going, yep, Stafford's the reason? Bullshit, Stafford's the reason. I'm going to swear. First time we're swearing today, but I'm going to do it. Bullcrap, he's the reason. When you let him get sacked 13 times in one game, I don't care who you are. Michael Vick couldn't get away from that, okay, and have a winning game. When you have a defense that gives up freaking like 400 yards passing to a team that has no business doing that, or when you leave holes so wide that our friend Paul Vayner could run through them and score touchdowns, there's no way you can put that on Matt Stafford as the only reason, okay? Quarterback, no, we don't need it. He's our guy for right now. I agree with Jay, though, that signing or drafting a wide receiver in that position, it puts a timetable on Stafford. Here you go, buddy. You've got a young running back who's proven he can do it. We finally got you a tight end. You've got 2 wide receivers who are both who are both early in their career, big name guys that can do stuff. We finally put a defense together that, at least on paper, we have to see how it gels together. At least on paper, is going to be able to stop teams. You've got a kicker who looks like he literally just got off the couch from playing PlayStation for an entire weekend eating nothing but hot and readies, but he's going to go kick 60-yard field goals. You've got everything you need here now. There's no reason this team shouldn't make it to the playoffs and have some success. And if you look at the end of the year next year and it's clear that Stafford was that reason, okay, we can start talking about a new quarterback. But for right now, there's been too many other things that have been problems that Matt Stafford can't be the only reason. So that's where I am with it. Last thing I want to talk about, because we talked about it real quickly at the start of the show, but I wanted to, Russ, you said something that to me kind of re-triggered it. You mentioned that when you look at Metcalf's stats at Ole Miss, when you look at his numbers, doesn't really do anything for you. But this to me is a perfect scenario of where we can talk about stats versus the eye test.
There we are.
It works. Yeah, see? Yeah. It's like I do this for a living or something.
Almost.
Almost. No, but it's the stats versus the eye test. Because like you said, you look at this guy you look at this guy, a picture of him, you look at his highlights and all that, just seeing his highlights, not putting the numbers underneath it, just the highlights. He should seem like a guy that's a surefire top 5 pick, gonna be a franchise wide receiver for the next 15 years. You look at the numbers, and I don't know his numbers to a T. I know you've seen them. You can probably get a little closer than I can. The numbers don't do it. So this, to me, is a perfect scenario of eye test versus stats, and I want to know why, if you're going to give it the win to one side, why it's stats over eye test.
Well, I guess I'll put it this way. We have the eye test. We have the stats. Both are used at their best capacity when they're used together. If you're in a room with someone and they're like, oh, I only believe in the eye test, or oh, I only need to look at the numbers, I don't want to watch the game, stop listening to that person.
Yep.
Right then.
That's true. I agree with you, though.
Yeah. I mean, I was just at this conference with some of the smartest hockey analytics people that they could get a hold of in the entire country. Like, there was a ton of PhDs. We had agents there. We had college scouts there. Every single one of them quoted analytics. Every single one of them also showed video in the presentation. Right? This is important for both sides. If I have to take just one, I'm probably going to lean to the stats because, hey, that's me, and I feel like where we're at in the professional sports leagues, I can glean more from them, and I can be fooled with video easier. But the eye test versus the stats test, do the little like Apple eye test, right? Like letter I test. That's where you should be, and that's, if you look at that for DK Metcalf, it shows you there's something else you need to look at here, right? Like elite athleticism, but maybe he lacks lateral quickness, right? And then you go and look at the tape, see, yeah, he's kind of just a straight line player, right? Yeah. And that's where they marry themselves together. For me, that starts with numbers, but you can never throw away the eye test.
No, I don't think you can. But I mean, and the whole time you were talking about that, to me, I kept thinking about the perfect compromise of that is, for as blunt of it can be, it's Moneyball. You see them in a room, a bunch of older guys who they don't care about the numbers. They like the fact that the guy's got a pretty swing. They like that the guy can throw the ball from center field to home plate and that quickly. They don't look at the fact that there are these guys you're missing who, while they're not the best day in and day out guys, their numbers somehow factor into them being a big key contribution to sports. Honestly, I might just be sheer for the fact that, all those numbers are far too much for me to, comprehend and hold on to at a, level. For me, the eye test is still where I think you get more of, because to be honest, the combine to me is an eye test. You look at, obviously they do the 40, they do the verticals and all that, and that's all good and great. But if you're telling me that I need to tell you what I think of a quarterback or a wide receiver or a running back, put me in front of them and let me see them do on-field things. I don't care that you averaged, 4.4 yards a carry in college, but you were in Alabama where they literally have pro offensive linemen year in and year out. I want to see what you can do. I want to see you throw the ball. And for me, that's an eye test. That's why it's still, to this day, one of my favorite things to do is turn on the combine and watch the quarterbacks throw. Because more often than not, you see these big-name guys, these can't-miss guys, and they are good. They're good. You wouldn't be there if you weren't good. But then you see some no-name guy from, some tech school or some small, small school, small conference school who's out there doing it better than the rest of them. But he's not going to get taken higher than the rest of them because the numbers aren't there to back him. But the problem is, you see some of these small school guys all of a sudden appear to be pretty good in the NFL when they're given their shot. So for me, stats is always going to be there, and it's the new generation, it's the new wave. But for me, I don't think you can ever fully give up on the eye test, and I still think if given the option, that eye test is going to tell you a lot more than looking at a sheet of numbers is going to tell you. That's where I sit with it. It's kind of old school, new school. It really is. But, as someone watching the games, I feel like you can see a lot more firsthand than you are if you could hand me a sheet of paper that says, Justin Marcus averages, or batted 302 last year with, 100 RBIs and 22 home runs. That's all good and well, but let me see this guy actually play the game. I want to actually see what he can do. Like that to me helps you get that final decision a little more comfortably.
Oh, and it's important to do that still, and you should still have at least some people on the staff that do that because, hey, when the eye test guys and the stats guys both say, this person, that's the one, well, then you have something special there.
Mm-hmm.
It's more, not to put a stats spin on it, but it's more data points, right? If one method is saying yes, the other method is also saying yes, much better chance of that being a true yes.
Right.
So they're both still valuable. Things like college hockey, we don't have the stats available, and that's something that the prospect panel at the conference belabored to no end, that the eye test is the most important tool right now in college hockey because we can't put context to stats to make them meaningful enough yet. Maybe one day it gets there. It's still not going to get rid of the eye test, though.
That works for me. All right, well, unfortunately, that's going to do it for us here on Armchair Sports Talk. Believe me, this stats versus eye test conversation isn't going away. Something tells me we're going to have quite a bit more to say on this over the next couple of weeks as we get closer to the draft, closer to the end of seasons, and doing the math on it all. So, as always, I appreciate both of you. Jay, you pass the eye test every time, buddy.
Hey, I appreciate it. I'm about to go use the eye test on some leftovers in my fridge and make sure it's a good decision.
It's a great choice. Great choice. Russ, the math is in. You're still the stats man for this show and one of the best around, buddy.
Oh, thanks. I hope Jay's eye test and sniff test pass out and his poops per 60 aren't too high tonight.
That's the numbers we're going to need, Russ. We're going to need you to break down the statistics on Jay's eye test and shit ratio. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Do that for it.
Best of luck. Bye from toilet paper.
Oh, God. And as always, I'm your host, Eric Dorsch. One small step for us, one giant leap back in Detroit sports broadcasting.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. May God have mercy on your soul.